Josh knocked lightly before stepping into Luke's room. Ben said I could use this room, he's done for the night. Luke looked up from the edge of the bed. What's on your mind? Josh hesitated. Linda, Pete, and I are going to see Mom and Dad tomorrow. We wanted to know if you'd come with us. Luke gave a dry laugh. Josh, you're grown, but that might be a mistake. Why would it be a mistake? They'll gaslight you just like they always do, you and Linda both. Josh's jaw tightened. We want answers about why they kept you quiet all those years. I want answers too, Luke said softly. They told me it was for the image, that's all they ever said. What does that even mean? I asked. I never got a real answer. Josh stepped toward the door. Maybe tomorrow you will. Luke turned away. Tell Pat and Aaron I want nothing to do with them. I'm tired. Close the door on your way out. Linda looked at Josh. What did he say? Josh rubbed the back of his neck. Luke basically said we're stupid for thinking we'll get answers. He said he never did. Linda's expression hardened. He's hurt, I get that, but he can't avoid them forever. Ben sighed. Linda, you know how stubborn he is. She crossed her arms. So am I. Before anyone could stop her, Linda marched down the hall and knocked hard on Luke's door. You can shut Ben out, she called, but you can't shut me out. We're family, and we're not running from this. There was a pause. Ben, waking you at 7:30, she continued. Josh and I will be here at 8:30. The three of us are going together to talk to Mom and Dad, no more avoiding it. From inside the room came a tired voice. Fine, I'll go. Now can you please step away from my door so I can sleep? Linda exhaled, a small smile breaking through. Thank you, Luke. She turned back down the hallway, determination written all over her face. Josh shook his head, half smiling. Ben, she does not play. Ben let out a quiet laugh. I would not want to be Pete when she's mad. Linda crossed her arms. Ben, set the alarm. Luke is coming with us tomorrow. I don't care if he doesn't want to go, he's coming anyway. Ben gave a mock salute. Copy that. Josh smirked. You're turning into Mom. Oh well, Linda shot back. Luke needs to stand up for himself, and if he won't, I will. She paused, realizing how that sounded. You know what I mean. Josh held up his hands. We didn't say anything. Ben nodded. We know what you mean. Linda's shoulders dropped. I'm sorry, I'm just mad. Josh's expression softened. I know, I feel the same way. The room grew quiet after that, not tense, but heavy with everything waiting for them in the morning. The next morning, Luke sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the floor. I just wanted to live my life, he muttered, but Linda won't let this go, she's turning into Mom. Ben leaned against the doorframe. You know that's exactly what your brother told her last night. Luke gave a tired half smile. Figures. Ben tossed him a sweatshirt. Get dressed, you don't have to have a perfect speech ready, just don't shut down when you see them. Luke sighed. That's kind of the problem. Linda thinks I've got something to say to Mom and Dad, but I really don't. Yeah, you do, Ben said gently. You just don't know the words yet. Luke ran a hand through his hair. What am I supposed to say? Why did you silence me? Why did you care more about your image than me? I don't even know where to start. Start with that, Ben replied. You don't need a script, just tell them how it felt. Luke stood slowly, pulling on the sweatshirt. I don't want to go back to being quiet. Then don't, Ben said. Today's your shot. Luke took a deep breath. Okay, let's go. From downstairs, Linda yelled, Luke, Ben, let's go. Luke rolled his eyes. Take a chill pill, sis. Linda shot back instantly. You know, I liked you better when I thought you weren't going to argue with me. Josh stepped into the room. You ready? Luke gave a dry shrug. Ready to move on with my life without ever seeing Pat and Aaron again? Absolutely, but apparently Linda thinks I need closure. Josh met his eyes. Maybe you do, maybe you don't, but today you get to decide. He moved toward the door. Come on, let's get you in the car so Ben and I can strap your wheelchair in. Ben grabbed the handles. And can we please get coffee on the way, because this feels like a long morning already. Josh nodded. Yeah, coffee's happening. Luke let out a slow breath as they headed outside. Fine, let's just get this over with. The air felt colder than usual, like even the morning knew something heavy was waiting ahead. When they arrived, Aaron and Pat were already standing outside, hands cuffed, officers nearby. Linda froze for a second, then stepped forward. 2 out of your 3 children deserve to know something, she said firmly. Why did you force Luke to stay silent? Why did you make him disappear for your image? Luke shook his head. They'll lie just like they always did with me. Josh touched his arm gently. Luke, maybe wait outside with Ben. Luke hesitated. Fine. Linda turned back to him. Wait, do you want to say something to Mom and Dad? You said you'd think about it. Luke looked at the ground for a long moment. I did. And Linda pressed softly. He lifted his head. His voice wasn't loud, but it was steady. This is the last time you'll ever see me, he said. I'm done being your secret. I'm done being quiet. Whatever happens next, it doesn't include you. Pat started to speak, but Luke cut her off with a look. Goodbye. He turned away. Josh, Linda, I'm going with Ben. Josh nodded silently. Linda swallowed hard but didn't stop him this time. Luke rolled toward the car, and for the first time it didn't feel like he was being pushed away. Ben glanced back toward the house. Well, that was quick. Where are Linda and Josh? Luke shrugged, wasting their time trying to get answers they're never going to get. Ben studied him for a moment. How do you feel? Luke looked straight ahead, hungry. Ben gave him a look. That's good, but I meant about your parents. Luke didn't hesitate. What parents? The words hung in the air, flat but heavy. Ben nodded slowly. Okay, then let's get food while we wait for Linda and Josh. Luke let out a small breath. Yeah, food sounds better than closure. Ben started toward the car. Pancakes or burgers? Luke thought for a second. Both. For the first time that morning, Ben smiled. Now that's the most honest answer you've given all day. They headed off, leaving the house and everything tied to it a little farther behind. Later, when Linda and Josh met them at the diner, Luke looked up from his plate. How was it talking to them? Josh slid into the booth across from him. Luke, you were right. Luke frowned slightly. About what? They didn't answer anything, Josh said. They brought up my studying abroad, asked Linda about law school like none of this ever happened. Linda didn't sit right away. She stood there for a second, then finally dropped into the seat and pulled out a cigarette, rolling it between her fingers without lighting it. They acted like we were there for a family reunion, she said quietly. Luke didn't say a word about you, not once. Luke leaned back. I tried to tell you guys it was going to be a waste of time. Josh and Linda both snapped at the same time. Shut up, Luke. A couple people nearby glanced over. Luke blinked, surprised, then went back to finishing his burger and fries without another word. After a moment, Linda sighed. You weren't wrong, she admitted more softly. We just didn't want you to be right. Josh rubbed his face. We thought if we pushed hard enough, they'd finally admit something. Luke swallowed the last bite and wiped his hands. Some people care more about their image than their kids. Silence settled over the table, heavier than before but clearer. Ben broke it gently. Okay, so what now? Luke looked at his siblings. Now, he said, we stop waiting for them to be better. Luke leaned back in his chair, shaking his head. The guy who had SMA and ED, he's the one who got it right, and I didn't even have to go to college to see it. Ben nodded slowly. Luke, you gave your brother and sister some slack. They were trying to help in their own way. Luke's expression softened a little. I appreciate that, but I'm never going to let this go, not really. Josh leaned forward. Luke, you can be annoying sometimes, but we didn't give you enough credit. Linda chimed in, quietly but firmly. Yeah, you spent more time around them than us, that matters. Ben added, I think part of you was hopping Luke and I were wrong. Josh shrugged, a small, rueful smile on his face. Maybe. Luke smirked faintly. Maybe, but I'm not wrong. The table fell quiet for a moment, each of them lost in their own thoughts, realizing that even with all the conflict, they were starting to understand each other a little better. Luke groaned and shifted in his chair. Ben, I need to get out of this chair. Ben stepped closer. All right, let's get you into your room. Luke waved him off. No, just put me on the sofa, please. Ben hesitated. Luke, you just came down. Josh frowned. So what should we do? Ben pointed toward the sofa. The Chucks, lay it on the sofa first. Josh blinked. Linda spoke up. The blue pads, put them under him. Ben nodded. Luke, where does it hurt? Luke gritted his teeth. My hip, it's killing me. Ben and Josh exchanged a quick glance. All right, Ben said gently, let's get you settled, then we'll figure out how to make you comfortable. Luke muttered, finally some help. Josh and Ben moved carefully, making sure Luke was supported as he eased onto the sofa. The tension eased slightly, for now at least, as they focused on getting him comfortable. Ben looked at Luke a bit hesitantly. Before I came, when did you get PT? Luke sighed. Before I left school. Josh leaned back thinking. He was 21 in 2015. After that, Mom had heating pads and would put them on the area. You remember her? Luke shook his head slightly. She just did it quietly so she didn't want you guys hearing me talk. Linda's expression hardened. Even if you were in pain, they wouldn't have let you speak up, would they? Luke's voice was low. Yes, I don't want to talk about that while I'm in pain. Ben nodded silently, understanding that some wounds weren't ready to be opened. The room stayed quiet, each of them giving Luke the space he needed while he tried to manage the pain. Luke groaned, frustration and pain mixing in his voice. I knew we wouldn't get anything from Aaron and Pat, fuck. Ben glanced at him, trying to stay calm. You're really tight. Josh held one of Luke's knees, Linda the other one. Luke froze. Ben, what are you doing? Ben spoke gently but firmly. Luke, this is going to hurt a little. On 3, we're going to spread your legs a bit to get you comfortable. Luke's eyes narrowed. I just want the heat pads. Ben held up a hand. I know, but this will help you get settled first. 3 ready. Luke frowned. Wait, I thought you said you were counting. Ben chuckled lightly, trying to ease the tension. I am. 1, 2, 3. Slowly, carefully, they helped Luke adjust, each sibling attentive to his reactions, making sure he was as comfortable as possible. Ben glanced at Luke. PT is going on the schedule. Luke shook his head. It wasn't that bad. Ben sighed. Luke, when I change you, the pain will be gone. No, Luke muttered, stubborn. All right, Ben said patiently. PT is going on the schedule then. Josh leaned forward. Luke, this is going to be good for you, really. Luke scowled. I hate Aaron and Pat. Ben nodded. We understand, we get it, but this is for you, not them. Luke stayed quiet for a moment, letting that sink in. Slowly, his tension eased a fraction, not because of what had happened, but because he finally felt like someone on his side. Linda knelt beside him. Luke, they're not here right now. Luke's jaw tightened. They're in my head. She frowned. What do you mean? He swallowed hard. Aaron, he's always saying, Luke, you've got to stop complaining. And then Mom, Josh, and even you, it's like they're all talking at once. Linda reached out, resting a hand on his shoulder. Luke's voice dropped. And Mom, she goes, Luke, try to be more crippled so we can get more money. It doesn't stop in my head, ever. Linda's eyes softened. I hear you, Luke, and none of that is true now. You're safe here, we're not like them. He looked at her, his chest tight. I know, but it still feels like I can't get away from it. Linda gave his shoulder a gentle squeeze. You can, and we'll help you, one step at a time. Josh shook his head, disbelief on his face. Ben, can you believe what someone could do to him? Don't worry, I know you're past it. Ben nodded slowly. I know, he would never forget what I did to him, but he forgave me. Josh tilted his head. Why? Ben's eyes softened. Because I saved your brother. Josh frowned. He talked to you about that afterward. Ben nodded. Yeah, my PO said Vin dropped the charges because the restraining order was still in place. Josh blinked. I thought you sent Luke to talk to Vin. Ben shook his head. Vin's brother picked Luke up. Josh leaned back. So they helped you. Ben shook his head again. Vin said through his brother that he didn't help me, he helped Luke. John left Luke in his messy diaper because they were still mad at what I did to Vin. Josh went quiet for a moment, letting the weight of Ben's words sink in. The past was messy and painful, but somehow through all of it, Luke and Ben had survived and leaned on each other. Josh's face twisted in disbelief. That's nasty. How long was he at Vin? Ben rubbed the back of his neck. 4 hours. Josh blinked. And how did they do that? Ben sighed, his voice low. I was trying to convince Vin of something. I told him he was a woman and that his new name was Victoria. David, his therapist, gave me the wrong information about him and I just followed it. I thought I was helping. Josh shook his head slowly. That's messed up, man. Ben nodded. I know, I made a mistake, but Vin, he handled it better than I did. He didn't hold it against me. The table fell quiet. Josh stared into his coffee, letting the weight of what Ben had just said sink in. Ben shook his head. The difference is I'm not Vin's family, but the people who did that to Luke, that's his parents, so I get it. Just then Linda came in, her expression worried. Luke threw up. Ben muttered under his breath, frustration clear in his voice. It sucks. Linda gave him a pointed look. He's cleaned up and is taking a nap now. Ben nodded, running a hand through his hair. Good, he needs the rest. The room settled into quiet again, the weight of everything that had happened earlier still lingering, but for now Luke was safe and that was enough. Josh leaned back, studying Ben. Ben, are you helping our brother to redeem yourself for what happened with Vin? Linda frowned. Wait, who's Vin? Ben took a deep breath. A guy I used to care for before Luke. Basically, I did the same thing to Vin that your parents did to Luke. Josh's eyes widened. So, you are trying to make it right? Ben shook his head slowly. I don't know, maybe I just don't want to hurt anybody else the way I hurt Vin. Silence hung in the room for a moment. Josh and Linda both looked at him, realizing that even with all the mistakes and anger, Ben's intentions now were about protecting Luke, not repeating the past. Ben looked at both of them. Guys, if you don't want me helping your brother anymore, I understand. Josh shook his head immediately. We didn't say anything like that, I just asked because I wanted to understand. Ben nodded slowly. After everything with Vin, I tried to get my old job back at the group home, but once they found out about the Dateline episode, there was no way they were letting me return. Linda's eyes widened. Wait, your ex-husband Joe was on that episode with Vin's parents. Ben gave a small, tired nod. Yeah, that's the one. The room went quiet. Josh finally spoke. That must have been brutal. Ben shrugged, though his expression said otherwise. It was. I deserve to be called out, I just didn't expect it to follow me everywhere. Linda crossed her arms but softened her tone. You're not the same person now. Ben looked toward the hallway where Luke was resting. I'm trying not to be. Josh nodded. That's what matters. For the first time in the conversation, Ben didn't look defensive, just determined. Ben rubbed his hands together nervously. His therapist, David, and I were trying to do a reset. At least that's how it was explained to me, but in my opinion they edited the story to make it look like something else. After everything, Vin went back to his family. Josh leaned forward. You were lied to by David, and if you knew then what you know now, you wouldn't have done that to Vin. Ben nodded slowly. No, I wouldn't. He stared at the floor. I still feel terrible about it. Vin doesn't want to talk to me about any of it, and honestly, I get that. Linda softened her tone. Sometimes the best thing you can do is respect that. Ben swallowed. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. Josh glanced toward the hallway where Luke was sleeping. Just make sure whatever you're doing for Luke is about him, not about fixing the past. Ben met his eyes. It is. I can't change what I did, but I can choose who I am now. The room went quiet again, not hostile this time, just reflective. Luke stirred on the couch, blinking slowly as he woke up. Linda leaned closer. Hey, are you okay? You had a little episode. Luke rubbed his face. Yeah, when I saw Mom and Dad in the visitor room at the jail, something just hit me. I was hungry afterwards, so Ben and I got a burger while we waited for you and Josh. I thought I was better because I was eating. He looked at her, vulnerable. Linda, am I messed up? Linda's expression softened immediately. No, you're not messed up, you're healing from what Mom and Dad did to you. Luke swallowed. I'm working on it, but it's not easy. I know, she said gently. Healing isn't a straight line, some days are better than others, today was just heavy. Luke gave a small nod. Yeah, heavy. Linda squeezed his hand. But you didn't shut down, you showed up, you spoke, that matters. Luke let out a slow breath. I guess. Ben, standing nearby, added quietly, you're not broken, Luke, you're rebuilding. For the first time since waking up, Luke's shoulders eased just a little. Linda sat beside Luke, her voice softer than usual. I thought talking to them might help you. I'm sorry I didn't respect your decision. Luke looked at her for a long moment. I know you wanted me to face them, and thank you, I know it came from a good place. Josh stepped closer. You know something, the three of us in this room, we're not Mom and Dad, we don't get to decide what's best for you without listening. Ben nodded slowly. I did that to Vin once. I thought I knew what was best. I still feel guilty about it every day, but I'm working on it. Like my therapist says, we're in each other's lives to help each other, not control each other. Luke let that settle. So, Linda added gently, next time we ask, we don't push. Luke gave a small, tired smile. That would be nice. Josh bumped his shoulder lightly. We're learning too, you know. Luke nodded. Yeah, I guess we all are. The room felt different now, not fixed, not perfect, but honest. Pete stepped inside and smiled. Linda, how was your day? She exhaled. It was good but long. Pete nodded. Can I say hi to everyone before we head out? Linda hesitated. You can, but just so you know, it kind of smells like throw up and diarrhea in here. Pete paused mid-step. Okay, maybe I'll say hi next time. From the couch, Luke called out weakly, smart choice. Josh laughed under his breath. Yeah, save yourself. Pete grinned. All right, I'll let you all recover. See you tomorrow. Linda shook her head as he stepped back out. For the first time all day, the tension in the room broke just a little. Ben knelt beside the couch. Luke, I'm going to put some water through your feeding tube so you stay hydrated, okay? Luke nodded tiredly. Okay. Josh glanced around the room, then cleared his throat. I'll take my old room tonight. I'm staying here with you guys. Luke looked over at him, surprised. That means a lot, bro. Josh shrugged, trying to play it cool. Yeah, well, somebody's got to keep an eye on you. Ben smiled faintly as he finished up. He's right, you're kind of high maintenance. Luke managed a small smirk. Shut up. But the warmth in the room was real now, not forced, not tense, just family choosing to stay. After Linda left, Ben turned to Josh. It's good you're staying. Luke's shower chair is coming tomorrow and I'll need help installing it. Josh frowned. Wait, the old chair never got fixed, so how have you been getting cleaned up? Luke answered quietly, bed baths. Josh froze, then he stepped closer and gently rested a hand on the edge of the bed. Luke, I'm not mad at you, I'm mad at Mom and Dad. Luke looked at him carefully. What did the other caregivers say? Josh asked, his voice tight. They just did their jobs, Luke replied, and I couldn't even talk, remember? That hit Josh hard, his eyes filled. Oh my God, that was before I left for college. I was so wrapped up in my own life I didn't see it. Luke shook his head slightly. You didn't know. Josh wiped his face. I should have known. Ben stepped in gently. Josh, you were young, the responsibility wasn't yours. Josh looked at Luke again, guilt heavy in his expression. I'm here now. Luke gave a small nod. Yeah, you are. The silence that followed wasn't angry, it was grieving, but this time they were grieving together. Luke stared at the ceiling. Why didn't I say anything to anybody? He murmured, more to himself than to them. Ben answered gently, you have help now. Josh moved closer. Luke, it wasn't your fault and it wasn't your responsibility, it was Mom and Dad. Luke swallowed. I just stayed quiet. You were surviving, Ben said softly. That's different. Josh nodded. When you're raised to believe your voice doesn't matter, you don't use it. That's not weakness, that's conditioning. Luke was quiet for a long moment. I keep thinking maybe I could have stopped it, he admitted. Josh shook his head firmly. No, that was never on you. Ben added, you were a kid trying to make it through, that's it. Luke let out a slow breath. I don't want to survive anymore, I want to live. Josh managed a small emotional smile. Then that's what we're doing now. And for the first time, Luke didn't look like he was questioning himself. He just looked tired and a little hopeful. The next day the shower chair arrived. Luke stared at it from the doorway. I'm nervous, I haven't been in a real shower in a long time. Linda walked in. Hey, what's going on? Ben gave a small smile. New equipment. Josh added new bed, new mattress, and now a new shower chair. Linda looked at Luke. Mom always told me she had all of that handled. Josh shook his head. Well, everything here now is actually to help Luke, not just to say it's handled. Linda's expression hardened. Aaron and Pat used Luke and the money meant for his care. Josh nodded slowly. Seems like it. Luke just needed basic things, clothing, food, proper supplies, the essentials. Luke looked between them, uncomfortable with the focus but also absorbing it. Ben stepped closer to him. This isn't about them anymore, this is about you getting what you should have had all along. Luke swallowed. It feels weird. It's okay for it to feel weird, Linda said softly. Different doesn't mean bad. Josh clapped Ben on the shoulder. Let's get this set up. Ben nodded one step at a time. Luke looked at the shower chair again. For the first time, it didn't feel like a reminder of what he didn't have. It felt like something new. Luke ran his hand along the arm of the new shower chair. I like it, but it still feels like I don't deserve any of it. Ben looked at him steadily. These aren't luxuries, Luke, they're things you need. Luke nodded faintly. I know, but... He trailed off. But what? Josh asked gently. Luke swallowed. But I was always told I was too much, too expensive, too difficult, like everything I needed was a burden. Linda stepped closer. That was their voice, not reality. Ben added quietly, basic care isn't a reward, it's a right. Luke stared at the floor. It just feels wrong, like I'm taking something. Josh shook his head. You're not taking anything, you're finally getting what should have been there all along. There was a long pause. Luke let out a slow breath. It's going to take me a while to believe that. Ben gave a small, reassuring smile. That's okay, we've got time. For the first time, Luke didn't look guilty. Just unsure and learning. Luke swallowed hard. I need a minute. Before anyone could answer, he turned his chair and quietly rolled outside. The door clicked shut behind him. Josh started to move, but Ben gently stopped him. Let him. Outside, Luke let it all hit him. The anger, the grief, the years he lost, the kindness he wasn't used to. He covered his face and sobbed, not because he was weak, but because something inside him was finally safe enough to break. After a few minutes, he wiped his eyes and steadied his breathing. When he came back in, the room went quiet. Luke looked at all of them, his voice was raw but steady. Thank you guys for all of this. Linda walked over first and squeezed his shoulder. You don't have to thank us. Josh nodded. We're your family. Ben gave him a small, proud smile. And this is just the beginning. Luke took a deep breath. For the first time, gratitude didn't feel like guilt. It felt like healing. Luke sank back into his chair, his hands gripping the arms tightly. This is overwhelming for me. Ben nodded gently. Yeah, we get that, and it's just finished. You didn't even have to ask for most of it. Luke's voice wavered. So, I can get the money for me, but... Ben leaned closer. Yes, but here's something you don't know. Your Uncle Mike told everyone who got scammed by your parents and they got their money back. And they made sure you got everything you need. Luke's eyes went wide. Oh my God. He let out a slow, shaky breath, the weight of it finally hitting him. For once, what he deserved wasn't being denied. Josh reached over and lightly tapped his shoulder. See, it's finally yours, Luke. No strings, no excuses, just you. Luke just stared, speechless, letting the reality settle in for the first time. Luke finished his first shower in a decade, the steam still clinging to the bathroom walls. He was getting dressed when he looked at Ben with a small, tired smile. The one thing my parents actually got right for me, he said softly. Ben raised an eyebrow. What's that? Luke's expression softened. Getting you out of jail to help me get out of the shower. For that, thank you. Ben gave a small shrug, smiling gently. I got you, Luke, always. Luke took a deep breath, his voice quieter but full of meaning. Ben, thank you for helping me gain a life, I really mean that. Ben's eyes glistened, but he kept his voice steady. You don't have to thank me, I'm just making sure you get what you deserved all along. Luke nodded, finally letting himself feel the weight of it, not guilt, not obligation, but the simple relief of being cared for and seen. For the first time in a long time, he felt alive. Ben stepped away. I'll be right back. Josh nodded. Okay. Ben pulled out his phone and dialed Billy. I know everyone over there doesn't want to hear from me anymore, Ben began cautiously, but I need to say I'm sorry for everything that happened with Vin. There was a pause. Who's that? Vin asked. Billy clarified, it's Ben. Vin sighed, put it on speaker. Ben took a deep breath. If Vin's there, tell him I was acting on what your friends and David told me. I'm not blaming David, but if I knew then what I know now, I never would have taken you away from your family or moved you to another country. I know about Alan and everything. I was just trying not to be another monster in your life. Please just let him know that. I hope everyone over there has a good life. Vin, I mean it. I am very sorry. Billy nodded. I'll tell him that. Thanks, Ben. Thank you, Billy, Ben said quietly, hanging up. Billy looked over at Vin. How do you feel after hearing that from him? Vin shrugged, voice steady but distant. He's helping Luke now, that's good for Luke, but I still don't give a damn about what Ben has to say. He did it to me, now he has to live with that guilt for the rest of his life. With that, Vin wheeled his chair into his room and turned on the TV, shutting out the conversation entirely. Josh stepped outside, catching Ben by the door. You called Vin. Ben ran a hand through his hair. Yeah, I got his dad and I told him everything. I feel so dumb. Josh shook his head. Ben, you've got Luke, Linda, and me now. Vin may never forgive you, but at least you shared your feelings and took responsibility. If he wants to talk to you, he will, but that's his choice. Ben looked down, voice heavy. I don't get it. I don't know why you guys trust me with Luke after everything I told you about what I did to Vin. Josh put a hand on Ben's shoulder. Because you saved our little brother, you saw the signs, that's why. Ben let the words settle, the weight of guilt and relief mixing together. I hope I can keep doing right by him. Josh gave a small, reassuring smile. You already are, that's why we're here with you. For the first time in a long time, Ben felt like maybe he could actually start making amends, not just for the past, but for the people who mattered most now. Linda walked in holding a laptop. She set it gently in Luke's lap. Luke, Mom and Dad fooled us too, she said quietly. If we had known what was really happening, if we had known you were stuck under their control, we wouldn't have kept getting you things meant for a 2-year-old. Luke looked down at the laptop, then back at her. Before all of this, those toys helped me feel safe. I couldn't do much else, they were something I could control. He paused, and I did like them, they weren't stupid to me. Linda's eyes softened. I'm not judging you, I'm sorry we didn't see it. Luke nodded slowly. I know. He ran his fingers over the keyboard. This feels different, thank you. Josh leaned against the wall. This is for what you want now, not what they decided for you. Ben added quietly, you get to choose your world from here on out. Luke opened the laptop, the screen lighting up his face. For once, it didn't feel like something chosen for him. It felt like something chosen by him. Luke stared at the screen, his reflection faint in the dark glass before it powered on. Even though this is just a little laptop, he said quietly, it feels like freedom. I only ever watched what they wanted me to watch, stuff like Blue's Clues, kid shows. Ben frowned slightly, so they wanted you in a certain image. Luke nodded, yeah, even if no one else was around to see it, they still controlled what I watched, what I listened to, what I liked, even when I could talk, they still decided. He swallowed. I keep thinking, why didn't I say anything? That thought just keeps running in my head. Josh pulled a chair closer. Because when someone controls you long enough, it doesn't feel like control anymore, it feels normal. Linda added gently, you were surviving in the only way you knew how. Luke's voice was tight, but I knew it wasn't right. Ben shook his head. Knowing something isn't right and feeling safe enough to fight it are two different things. Luke looked down at the laptop again. This, he said softly, means I get to choose. Josh smiled faintly. Exactly. Linda leaned in. What do you want to watch? Luke hesitated, then, for the first time, that question didn't scare him. I don't know, he admitted, but I get to figure it out. And that felt bigger than the laptop itself. Josh sat down slowly. I remember one time Dad and I were going to see a Batman movie. I asked him why Luke wasn't coming with us. Dad said Luke wouldn't understand it and that he might whine or throw up during the movie. Luke stared at the floor. Linda nodded slowly. I remember when my friends were over, Mom told your aide to take you to the park. She said it would be easier. Ben exhaled, so even when you were there, you weren't really there. Josh's jaw tightened. They decided who he was before giving him a chance to be anything else. Linda's voice grew heavier. Sometimes I think they treated Luke like a pet, something to manage, not a person. The room fell quiet. Luke finally spoke softly. I was there, I remember all of it. Josh looked at him, guilt flashing again. I'm sorry. Luke shook his head. It's not on you, it's just weird hearing you remember it too. Ben stepped closer. You weren't invisible, you were made invisible. Luke let that sit for a moment. Not anymore, he said quietly. And this time no one argued. Luke looked down at his hands. I remember that day, my aide told me if I had a van I'd take you with your brother, you might like Batman even if you don't understand all of it, this isn't fair to you. Josh swallowed. When we got back, Luke continued, he stood up to Mom and Dad. Ben exhaled slowly, they fired him on the spot. Luke nodded, yeah, and I was in bed for 2 days until they got a new aide. Josh's voice tightened, they didn't help you for 2 days. They fed me, cleaned me up, Luke said flatly. But that was it, no TV, no going outside, no talking, just bed. Ben's jaw clenched, that's isolation. Luke shrugged faintly, I had to take it. Josh leaned forward, what would have happened if you told someone? Luke didn't hesitate, I didn't even want to know, I was that scared of Mom and Dad. Silence filled the room. Linda finally spoke softly but firmly, you were a kid, fear like that doesn't just appear, it's taught. Luke nodded slowly, I learned it well. Ben crouched to meet his eyes, you don't live there anymore. Luke looked at him, something steadier in his expression this time. I'm starting to believe that, he said. Linda's face went pale. So whenever Mom or Dad put you in your room and told us it was an early bedtime to help your muscles relax, that wasn't even true, you don't have CP, you have SMA. Luke nodded slowly, they wanted a happy little family image and they had one. Josh shook his head, that's not true. Luke looked at him gently, do you guys remember when we were younger and had to take 2 Christmas pictures every year? Linda frowned, 2. Yeah, Luke said, one without me that went to most of the family, and one with me that got sent to Uncle Mike and Mom's coworkers. The room went still. She told me that, Luke continued quietly, right in front of me while she was organizing the photos. Josh's voice cracked, she said that to you. Luke nodded like it was normal. Linda covered her mouth, oh my God. Ben spoke carefully, that wasn't about you, Luke, that was about control and image. Luke stared ahead, it worked, people believed it. Josh leaned closer, we believed it. Luke looked at him, not angry, just honest, yeah. There was a long silence. Then Josh said softly, we can't change what they did, but we can make sure you're never edited out again. Linda nodded firmly, there's only one picture now and you're in it. For the first time while talking about those memories, Luke didn't look small. He just looked seen. Josh ran a hand over his face. Oh my God, Luke's right, I remember one of our cousins telling me you don't have a brother, stop lying. The room went quiet. Mom dragged me inside after that, Josh continued. She yelled at me and said, I told you not to talk about our family problems. Linda nodded slowly, I remember that day, I tried to say something and Dad told me not to backchat. Luke looked between them, absorbing it. So it wasn't just me, he said quietly. No, Josh replied firmly, it wasn't just you, they were hiding you and they were training us to go along with it. Ben exhaled, that's how control works, you isolate one person and you silence the others. Linda's voice softened, we were kids too. Luke nodded slowly, yeah. Josh stepped closer, but we're not kids anymore. Linda added, and nobody gets erased from this family again. Luke let that sink in. For once, the memories didn't feel like something he carried alone. Luke's voice was tight. Our own parents were evil, while you two were hanging out with family, I was at camp. Josh frowned slightly, you liked camp though, didn't you? I did, Luke said, I was having fun, for a while it felt normal. He swallowed, but I was still under Mom and Dad's control, I still wasn't allowed to talk, even there. Linda's expression fell, they controlled you even when you were away from them. Luke nodded, they told the staff I wasn't supposed to speak much, that it was better for me, so I stayed quiet. Ben shook his head slowly, that's not care, that's control. Luke looked down, I thought camp was freedom, but it wasn't really, it was just a different place with the same rules. Josh moved closer, you deserved real freedom. Linda added softly, not supervised silence. Luke let out a long breath, I'm just now figuring out what freedom even feels like. Ben glanced at the laptop, the new equipment, the siblings standing around him. It starts here. For the first time when Luke thought about the word freedom, it didn't feel impossible. It just felt new. Luke looked at them carefully, I was talking just in a really low voice. Linda frowned, Mom always said you could talk but that it was hard to understand you. Josh nodded slowly, so basically you couldn't use your own voice at home, but at camp you were allowed to. Luke hesitated. I was allowed to, but I didn't. Why? Linda asked gently. Luke swallowed because I knew when I got home it would go back to being quiet. Ben spoke softly, so you stayed quiet there too because you knew nothing would change when you came back. Luke nodded. Exactly. The room went still. Josh ran a hand over his face. That's survival. Linda's eyes were glassy. You made yourself smaller so the transition wouldn't hurt as much. Luke gave a faint shrug. It was easier than having freedom for a week and losing it. Ben looked at him steadily. You don't have to shrink anymore. Luke sat with that. For the first time, the idea of using his full voice didn't feel dangerous. It just felt unfamiliar. Luke stared at the floor. That week at camp was a test and I passed. Josh frowned. How do you know? Luke answered quietly. The first 2 summers I only went for 1 week at a time. When Mom picked me up, she asked if I talked at camp. Linda's breath caught. And what did you say? I told her no. He swallowed. She said, great job, I want you to try and stay quiet, now we can trust you. Josh's jaw tightened. So she tested you for 2 summers to see if you wouldn't talk. Luke nodded. After that I was allowed to go for the whole summer, every year, until I aged out. The room felt heavy. Ben spoke carefully. She rewarded silence. Luke gave a faint nod. Yeah. Linda's voice was soft but firm. That wasn't trust, that was control. Josh stepped closer. You were a kid trying to earn approval. Luke looked up. I thought if I did everything right, things would get easier. Ben met his eyes. They were supposed to make your life easier, not the other way around. There was a long silence. Then Luke said quietly, I don't want to pass that kind of test anymore. Josh shook his head. You don't have to. And for the first time, the rules of Luke's world felt like they were finally changing. Linda looked at Josh, something clicking into place. Josh, I get it now. Get what? He asked. That 3rd summer, she said slowly, Dad told us, now that Luke's taken care of for a month, we can go on vacation with the rest of the family. Josh's face tightened. Yeah, he said the aide would watch Luke for 2 days in between sessions. Luke nodded. Yeah, between each camp session, an aide would stay with me for 2 days. They took care of me anyway during the year, but in the summer it was just me and the aide. No siblings, no parents, Ben said quietly. Luke shook his head. Just us. Josh frowned. What did you guys even do for those 2 days? Luke hesitated. He would teach me stuff, but like someone would teach a toddler. Simple games, basic things, baby stuff. Linda's eyes welled up. You weren't a toddler. I know, Luke said softly, but that's how they explain me to people. Ben's voice was steady. They controlled the narrative even when they weren't physically there. Josh sat back, processing. So vacations weren't about logistics, they were about excluding you. Luke gave a small nod. Yeah. Silence settled over the room, not confused this time but understanding. Linda reached over and squeezed his hand. No more separate summers. Josh nodded firmly. No more separate anything. Ben added gently, and no more being treated like you're younger than you are. Luke looked around at them. For once, he didn't feel like the missing piece of the family. He felt like he was finally inside it. Josh took a slow breath. Luke, last question. Luke looked at him. What is it? Josh hesitated. Do you hate our parents for all of this, for what they did to you? The room went still. Luke answered calmly. Pat and Aaron aren't my parents, they gave birth to me, that's it. No one interrupted. The people they hired to take care of me, even when I didn't talk to them, I think of them more like parents. And Ben, he glanced at him, I call you that too sometimes in my head. Ben blinked, caught off guard. Luke continued, steady but emotional. They didn't hide me, they didn't pretend I wasn't there, they treated me like a person. Lena said softly, even if some of them treated you like a baby. Luke nodded. You might not understand that, but being treated younger than I was still felt better than being erased. He swallowed. At least they didn't hurt me, they didn't hide me, Pat and Aaron did. Silence filled the space, heavy but honest. Josh moved closer and rested his hand on Luke's shoulder. You deserved real parents. Luke looked around at them. Josh, Lena, Ben. I think, he said quietly, I have something better now. No one tried to correct him. No one tried to fix it. They just stayed. And for the first time, Luke wasn't hidden.